truth.
Welcome back, guys, to another Clash Royale video, and today we're going to be taking a look at this giant Hog Rider deck that I've come up with this morning. So here's the deck I'm going to be using. I have built this deck with the free-to-play player in mind, because I purposely put no legendaries in this deck right here. But if you guys have like an Ice Wizard or a Princess, go ahead and switch out maybe the Valkyrie or the Musketeer for one of those legendaries. Now the only epic in this deck, of course, is the Poison Spell, which is fairly easy to get to a usable level. But if you guys don't have the Poison Spell yet, go ahead and maybe throw in a Fireball in that slot. But let's go ahead and take a look at some replays here, and then we're going to go ahead and finish off with a live battle. So here we are, guys. Now just a heads up here, this replay and the next one were my very first two battles of the morning. I hadn't even had my coffee yet, so I do make a couple mistakes throughout the battle, as you'll see. But in the end, we do come back and win both battles, which is a great example as to how powerful this strategy can be if used properly. Now right here, I have the perfect Hog Rider starting hand. I'm going to go in with a Hog Rider as well as some Goblins. He ends up dropping down the Barbarians, which normally are a decent counter to the Hog Rider, but with the help of the Zap spell, my Hog Rider is able to get some decent damage onto the tower, bring it all the way down to 1900 health, and my Goblins are able to kill most of the Barbarians, which is really important, because not only did I do about 1000 damage to that tower in that push, but I also killed all of his defending troops, so I don't have to worry about a counter push. And that's kind of where the level does make a difference in that kind of a case, because if my Goblins were level 9, or my Zap spell was level 9, or the Barbarians were level 11, I wouldn't have been able to kill all those Barbarians, and I would have had a counter push to worry about, which does make a little bit of a difference on the battle. Now right here, he's coming in pretty hot with the Royale on the right hand side, able to do some pretty decent damage from my tower, bring it down to 1900 health. So I'm trying desperately to defend this right hand lane here, but unfortunately it wasn't very successful. So he does have the damage lead so far in this battle, and he also has the elixir lead because of that pump he placed down earlier on. Now right here, going to wait till I get to 10 elixir, and then do a slow push with the Giant on the left hand side, because that's the lane I want to keep focusing my attention on, trying to take out that tower on the left hand side. But he recognizes that I'm fairly low on elixir right here, so he's going to put on some immediate pressure on the right hand lane with a Bomber Royal Giant push. Now the problem with a Bomber is I can't really use my Goblins to take out the Royal Giant, so I'm going to go ahead and use the Cannon as well as the Valkyrie to take out the Royal Giant, and in the end he does get, I think, one hit on my tower, bring it down to 1300 health. And in all of that, I spent all of my spare elixir defending my tower on the right hand side, so I don't really have enough elixir to support this push on the left hand side, and as a result, the Giant doesn't make it to the tower. But the Poison Spell did some decent damage to the tower, and it also weakened the Barbarians, making it a little bit easier to deal with this counter push right here. Gonna go ahead and use the Musketeer to counter all these Barbarians, and then set up a counter push with that Musketeer, dropping down a Giant up front to protect her, and also a Valkyrie in the back. But at this point in the battle, I didn't know my opponent had a Fireball yet, so right here, huge value Fireball in his part, with the Bomber finishing off my support troops. So not only did my Musketeer and my Valkyrie not do anything, but I wasted a huge amount of elixir right there. Now right here, he's going to come in on the right hand side with another Royal Giant. Going to go ahead once again and use the Cannon to distract. And this is one of the reasons why I love the Cannon versus, say, the Tesla or the Inferno Tower, is the Cannon is the cheapest defense. So it's the best defense for keeping up with fast cycling decks. Now right here, Musketeer going on the right hand side, just going to let her die in there, and then do a push with my Valkyrie as well as my Hog Rider. And the reason I want to use the Valkyrie up front is because I know my opponent has the Barbarians in his deck, and that's his main defense against my Hog Rider. And in the end, he was forced to use Barbarians as well as a Fireball to defend my push. So overall, not too bad right there, forcing my opponent to spend a ton of elixir in the process. Now he's putting on the pressure once again on the right hand side with his Royal Giant as well as the Ice Wizard in the back and the Bomber. So I'm trying desperately to defend at this point in the battle. We are in overtime. My tower is all the way down to 700 health, so he still has the damage lead in this battle. Now right here, as you can see, I'm sitting on my elixir. Valkyrie in there just dying. Gonna go ahead and drop the Poison Spell preemptively because I'm expecting another push on his part. And he does end up dropping on the Royal Giant Story in that Poison Spell. Gonna go ahead and use the Goblins here as well as the Zap Spell to stop that Royal Giant from getting any damage onto my tower. And at this point in the battle, I really am just in survival mode, trying to survive till the end of overtime. But I see an opportunity here. Gonna put on some pressure on the left hand side with the Valkyrie as well as the Hog Rider. He ends up dropping down his Barbarians on the right hand side, which is perfect for me. So with 10 seconds left in this battle, gonna go ahead and try desperately to distract all these troops on the right hand side. He drops down a Fireball trying to take out my Hog Rider, but in the end, we do get the 1 crown victory. Let's go ahead here to the next replay. So here we are, guys, facing off against Diego, who is a fellow level 10 in the Legendary Arena. Now right here, I'm gonna wait to get to 10 elixir and see what he does for an opening move. He ends up dropping down his giant way in the back behind his king tower. So I have a decision to make here. I can either push the opposite lane and put on some counter pressure with my giant, or I can get ready for this defense. And I choose to defend here just because it's pretty early in the battle and I want to play it safe and figure out my opponent's deck before I go on the offensive. So right here, as you can see, getting ready for this defense and seeing that he's doing a slow push with the giant, I had some thoughts going on in my head. He's either using a Sparky deck, a 3 Musketeer deck, or a giant poison deck. And in the end, he's using a giant support poison deck, which honestly, guys, I've been seeing a ton of people using this strategy recently. So let me know in the comment section below if you guys have been seeing a ton of people using giant support decks recently, because I don't know what it is. It's just kind of crazy the amount of people that switch to different decks at different times. First it was the minor cycle decks, now it's like the giant poison deck is the new craze. But right here, gonna sit back and get ready for this next push here. He drops down the pump in the middle there, which is a cause of concern for me later on in the battle. Gonna do a slow push here with my giant on the left-hand lane, and now it's my turn to go on the offensive, because I have a better idea as to what kind of strategy my opponent is using right here. He's gonna go ahead and use his giant way in the back on his king tower, which kind of is a problem for me and kind of frustrating, because that means all the support troops that I drop behind my giant are going to target his giant and leave my giant exposed. So I'm going to put on some counter pressure on the right hand lane with a quick Hog Rider Goblin push, but in the end he drops down the guards, which by the way guys, the guards are really strong right now for this exact reason. Normally people use like goblins or skeletons to take out a Hog Rider, but those are zappable, which pretty much everyone that uses a Hog Rider deck uses the zap spell, but the guards aren't zappable, so that kind of throws me off my typical Hog Rider strategies that I like to use. I can't rely on the Hog Rider Goblin push, and I can't rely on a Hog Rider zap push, so I have to change out my strategy a little bit later on, maybe use the Valk Hog Rider. But in that entire thing, we did some decent damage to the tower on the left hand side with that giant, bringing it down to 1900 health. But the problem here is my opponent had 2 pumps down early in the battle, so I know in the double elixir period he's going to be putting on the pressure. Going to try and sneak in a Hog Rider from the right hand side, even though I know he has the guards in his deck. Looking back at it, not really too sure what I was doing right there. Like I said earlier, this was my first couple of battles in the morning. Hadn't had my coffee yet, so I didn't really clue in yet that I had to change up my strategy. So now that I failed 2 pushes with the Hog Rider, I want to try and change up my strategy with that push. Maybe use the Valkyrie up front with the Hog Rider to take out those guards. So right there, we defended pretty well. He brought my tower down to 1600 health. But right here, just really focusing on defending. Giant going up front there to protect my Musketeer. Musketeer hopefully finishing off that mini P.E.K.K.A. Now right here on the right hand side, as I said before, changing up my strategy, using the Valkyrie this time in front of my Hog Rider to take out all those guards. And in the end, we do some decent damage to that tower, bringing it all the way down to 419 health. I'm going to go ahead and use a poison spell here to also damage that tower and hopefully take out some of those counter push troops. But take a look at this counter push on the right hand lane that my opponent has going on here with a mini P.E.K.K.A. up front, 2 Musketeers as well as an Ice Wizard. So right here, I am in survival mode, just trying desperately to defend this push on the right hand side. He drops down a giant as well as some guards. He's going to go ahead and zap my goblins. So I'm in some big trouble right here. Musketeer doing damage to that giant, sorry. Going to go ahead and use a zap spell to stun that giant and also stun the guards. And then use the Valkyrie to finish off the guards. So overall, he brought my tower down to 1200 health, but we cycled back to a poison spell, so all we really need to do right here is use the zap spell one more time, and we will be able to get the 1 crown victory. So right here, zap spell going down, giving me that 1 crown victory. Let's go ahead and do a live battle here, guys. So here we go, guys. What kind of opponent do we have? Another level 10, not too bad. Hopefully his card levels are decent. I've been facing a ton of people just have like level 11 commons, level 12 commons, and like level 6 or 7 epics. Kind of crazy recently, but we have a decent Hog Rider hand. So let's go ahead here. He has a Musketeer to start there. Maybe he's using a Hog Trifecta. Nope, he's got the mini P.E.K.K.A., which the Hog Trifecta doesn't use. And we are in some kind of trouble here. Let's go ahead and use this Valkyrie. I'm not too sure why I used the Valkyrie right there. Zap this mini P.E.K.K.A., and that'll prevent it from hitting the tower. So not really the greatest opening right there. My opponent is using a Hog Rider cycle deck with the Musketeer and the mini P.E.K.K.A. He also has the Ice Wizard and the Zap Spell. Pretty much everybody has the Zap Spell right now, so I think that's pretty much just a given in almost every deck. So, my opponent is using a minor cycle deck, so we gotta keep that in mind. With a Giant as well. Wow, was not expecting that Giant. Let's go ahead and use some Goblin in the back here. Valkyrie, hopefully to damage that Giant. He will get a couple hits on my tower. And then hopefully this counter push, I don't think it's gonna get too much accomplished here, because he's using a... Ooh, wow. Like I said before, lots of people using the giant poison strategy, which I've been noticing recently. He's using a hybrid with the miner as well. So let's see here. We can't really do a push with that Hog Rider. So let's start out a slow push with this giant in the back there. See if we can't make anything happen. Now take a look at my hand here. Like, I don't really have anything to play here, which is kind of unfortunate. So let's go ahead and poison this. Just because. And let's use some goblins up here to hopefully distract that mini P.E.K.K.A for a couple seconds. And maybe the... Yes, what I wanted was the musketeer to finish it off without getting any damage done to my giant. So not too bad. Guards, once again, like I said before, guards are dirty right now. Very strong. Expecting a miner right here. Where is that miner? There it is. I didn't predict the location very good there. Now, of course, the miner... If you guys didn't know, the miner got like a ninja buff there in the last update, increasing the deploy timer from 1 second down to like 0.7 seconds. So it's almost impossible to counter nowadays because it just pops up so fast. Now, hopefully able to do some decent damage right here. Giant gun there, poison spell slowing everything down. And another miner coming in here. Let's go ahead and use some goblins right here. Unfortunately, once again, not predicting the location of that miner. Poison spell doing damage to our goblins. Things really aren't looking good here. He's got some pretty good counter pressure going on. Let's go ahead and use this Valkyrie here to take out both of these troops. Hopefully she can finish out that musketeer as well. Yes, there we go. Thank you. And mini P.E.K.K.A go in there. Let's start out another slow push here with the musketeer in the back. And just get ready, hopefully, for a decent, overwhelming push. Giant up front here to protect the musketeer. Now let's see what we can make happen here. Get some troops ready. Hog Rider going in and just put on all this pressure right here. Hog Rider going to go in there. He drops down the miner. Let's go ahead and use this goblins here. Zap spell going down. Can this Hog Rider finish it all? Come on, come on, come on. Poison spell. 55 health. There we go. Come on, come on. One more hit. There we go. Getting the 1 crown victory, guys. Anyways, guys, that's going to be the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.